Привет. That is literally all the Russian I know. So Matt Jones, I've been in mobile since 2002. I launched some of the world's biggest apps. I built a Sony PlayStation app, working people at Starbucks now around the go-to-market strategy. That's not me. In 2017, we live in a mobile-first world. We check our phone on average 150 times a day. We spend over 3 hours a day or more on our phone. 45% of us would rather give up a holiday than their phone. 82% of us use our phone installed before we buy something, and nearly 80% of us check our phones within 15 minutes of waking up. It's not all good. That's not me. But some of us have inspired the selfie to the point that more people are now killed by selfies than they are by sharks. In Europe now, we've become so addicted to our phones that they've put traffic lights on the ground because we are constantly looking down on our phones. This is just launched in Sweden. Great. So people like phones, but so what? Well, mobile-first companies are some of the biggest in the world. 4 years ago, someone like Facebook was generating zero revenue through mobile. It's now around 82% of all their revenue. And it's become a bit of a monopoly. 8 out of the top 10 biggest apps globally are owned by either Facebook or Google. And they're going around acquiring all the companies who are leading into this space. But it's not all about the big online guys. It's not all about your Amazons, your Facebooks, your Googles. It's a new world and a gold rush. If you're a mobile games developer in China, you can make 3 times the annual revenue that the New York Times ad business has done with all the legacy and infrastructure that was required to do that. When you get it right, it can have a huge impact on your business. When Pokemon Go launched, it added nearly 85% onto the Nintendo share price because people thought that Nintendo developed Pokemon Go. It didn't. It was a company called Niantic. But it had a massive impact in regards to the valuation of the business. But also when you don't always kind of nail it on and the market doesn't think that you've nailed it on. When they launched Super Mario Run, was a fixed price rather than in-app payments, the market didn't like that. They also realized that they hadn't built Pokemon Go. And it was like a 7.2% drop in the share price. So if you get mobile right, huge impact on your business. If you make a misstep, then the market can react accordingly. But it's not just about kind of big global businesses or big internet businesses. Every single type of business has been impacted by mobile and continues to be impacted by mobile. Something dear to my heart is pizza. You can possibly tell. Particularly one, Domino's Pizza. I believe you've got these guys here. They describe themselves as a technology company that sells pizza rather than a pizza business. They hugely got into mobile early, kind of around 2009, 2010, where they very seriously started to invest in it. This is a 2015 stat, embarrassingly. But nearly 1 in 8 in the UK population have got the Domino's Pizza app on their phone. Nearly 80 to 90% of all pizza purchases through Domino's are made on a mobile device. You can now buy a Domino's Pizza shoe, a Domino's Pizza trainer, where if you press the top of your shoe here, it will order you a pizza. And it's one of the top 3 things that's driven their success. Not the shoe, digital. If you'd have bought Domino's shares back in 2011 when they were about the same price as Google, or let's just say Domino's Pizza shares have increased 437% off the back of their investment in digital and mobile. So I'm trying to give you, I guess, 15 years of experience in about 10 minutes. So I'm going to talk about the 4 pillars that I think are fundamental to a mobile success. Those are mobile-first customer experience, mobile-first products, mobile-first marketing, and mobile-first measurement. So talking about mobile-first customer experience. So this is where most people are playing now and kind of where a lot of the investment's going. And it's basically, how can we use mobile to improve the customer experience? So whether that's ordering a coffee, whether that's looking to buy a house, whether that's ordering fries, or whether that's banking. And it's all about how do you use mobile to remove friction, to improve the customer experience, to make the end-to-end experience easier, better, slicker. The companies who are doing this are the ones who are winning. So for example, I do a load of work with Starbucks. So the Starbucks mobile order and pay app. So it enables you to pre-order your coffee, pay for your coffee, walk in, get points for your coffee. They accredit it with driving over, I think, 22%, 23% of all in-store payments are made on a mobile device in Starbucks. They directly accredit it towards driving an additional 4 to 6% increase in footfall, which, considering the size of Starbucks, is obviously huge. If you're looking to buy a house, you do that on the Rightmove app. So you put in your details, you put in where you're looking, and you scroll through and you book an appointment. They're now launching, not these guys, but people in the real estate space, VR glasses, so you can actually get a walkthrough of the house without having to visit it. McDonald's, big investors in the mobile space, have been for a long time, just about to launch globally, or certainly in a number of markets, the pre-order and pay app. So again, pre-order your McDonald's, walk in store, pick it up. And then people like Barclays, again, big early investors in the mobile space. They had one of the biggest first applications. And this is all around account servicing on your app. The biggest issue to all of this stuff is legacy infrastructure. So I've worked on numerous m-commerce builds, huge amounts of time working with banks, etc. And the problem is a lot of the infrastructure that exists within these organizations is kind of 15, 20 years old. And that's both an opportunity and a barrier. So it's opportunity for people coming into the market. You can come in as a non-established brand, but because your tech stack, you're building from the ground up, you can build it from a mobile-first experience. This is the biggest opportunity, I think, around guys coming into the mobile space, because even the big established players, they're taking a long time to adjust to this. Amazon, basically Jeff Bezos gave his mobile team carte blanche, like full responsibility to just go in and change whatever was needed to make the mobile experience the first best experience possible. But very few CEOs do that. But when you build it, they will come. So if you look at a number of kind of more mature markets or developed markets globally, when you build these mobile experiences, they take away a huge amount of share of time from desktop and other platforms. So in places like USA, places like the UK, you're seeing 65, kind of 85% of all mobile time spent. All time spent on digital is done within mobile. To the extent that in the UK now, there's a huge ranch of branch closures because nobody goes into branches anymore because you can do it all on your phone. Secondly, mobile-first products. So this isn't where you're taking an existing experience and making it better with mobile. This is where you're developing something new, which is like a category challenge. So it's something that you as a customer think that you can change or build or make better. It embarrasses me to still hold this slide up because this is an old case study, but this is really hard and there's few companies who've done it well. But Nike with Nike Plus, it was part of their efforts to reposition themselves from just a sports brand to a running brand. So they did a load of other stuff, sponsored events, put specific events on, etc. But they said, okay, how can we make the running experience better? And it was basically people wanted to be able to track their own runs, share them with friends, and compare their next run against their previous one. Huge amount of investment. They actually shut it down a couple of years ago because it had done its job. It had repositioned Nike as a running brand rather than just a sports brand. But all the competitors, Adidas, Reebok, etc., they all launched similar propositions because this worked to such a scale. Ping It. So this was developed by Barclays in the UK. So rather than taking traditional peer-to-peer payment models, they launched it where you just had to enter in your friend's mobile number. A couple of years ago, it already delivered over £23 million worth of transactions and was the biggest driver of customer retention for Barclays customers outside of anything else. So any interest rates, mortgage rates, etc. This drove more loyalty to Barclays than anything else the bank was doing. So when you're approaching this stuff, the hardest bit is to get people to stop thinking about business. Still today, you talk to people about the features they want, the capabilities they want within their app, and they go, well, we as a business want this, we as a business want that, without thinking what their customers want. So you have to try and think like a customer, try and think like the end consumer, take your business hat off. So start with what does the customer want, what does the customer need, tie that with your business objective, and bring the two together. That is so hard for established businesses to do, to try and get this way of thinking, because typically you just think about business objective. You have to think like a startup. So again, trying to drive the corporate thinking kind of to the back of your mind. How do you position yourselves, develop product teams internally to think like a startup, make quick decisions, act quickly, and change and adapt? Okay, so thirdly, mobile-first marketing. So this is what mobile advertising used to be like in the UK. You'd have an online banner, somebody would squeeze it down, they'd put it on a phone, and then they'd complain why they're not getting the click-through rates or engagement rates that they were hoping for. This is what mobile looks like today. And a lot of the markets, certainly around the UK and the rest. So you've got your Snapchat ads, which are generating a huge amount of investment. You've got your fully shoppable interactive ads. Don't worry about sound too much. 88% of people don't have their sound turned on their phones. But basically, you can now deliver compelling brand experiences. And that's what's driven this massive shift away from desktop display into mobile display. So back kind of 4 or 5 years ago, you were still trying to get budget, but now mobile is taking between 40 to 80% of all digital budget in the UK. And that's because mobile can outperform brands, outperform desktop from a brand metric, which is still really important for our brand clients. They're still measuring things like propensity to purchase, brand uplift, etc. And 85 cents in every dollar is typically going to either Google or Facebook. So these guys are kind of hugely wrapping up a lot of the mobile investment that's going on at the moment. The next thing that they're going to be coming after, or everyone's going to be coming after, outside of digital budgets, is TV budgets. You're starting to see online video consumption on mobile going through the roof. I think it's a 2,068% increase in mobile video consumption in the last 18 months. And kind of millennials, I apologize for that term, but 18 to 34-year-olds, they are spending way more time on their phones than they are doing other things, such as TV. In Netflix-only households, kids kind of up to the age of like 8, they don't know what a TV ad is. And when they are watching TV, when the ads come on in the ad breaks, there's a big conversation at the moment about where are the eyeballs going. So this is some data from Flurry, the app analytics company, and it looked at app openings on the Super Bowl when the ads came on. Basically, every time an ad came on, for the biggest ad event in the year, arguably, people were putting their eyes down and looking at their phones. So huge amounts of investment going into TV advertising. Is it reaching the eyeballs that they're intending it to? The two biggest growth areas that we're seeing at the moment are around mobile video, as I was talking about, and around location. So location is going to be huge, is huge. I'll talk a little bit about that shortly. So mobile first measurement. So huge amounts of investment going into app performance as well as real world advertising. It's about a 50-50 split between brand campaigns and performance campaigns. I'm not going to talk too much about app performance because the guys who were on previously pretty much covered it. But basically, if you're kind of developers and stuff like this, plug in your app attribution partner early. You'd be amazed at the large major brands who don't have an app attribution partner or who are only starting to implement them now, 3, 4, 5 years after their apps have launched with multi-million pounds worth of investment in it. Again, not going to talk about this too much, but there is still this huge dependency on talking about app downloads. We all talk about it, how popular is the app, or it's had 2 million downloads, 5 million downloads, etc. It's the wrong language to use. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many app downloads you've had. So it's all about how do you optimize towards the right metric. This varies by company, by business model, etc. But basically, look at your highest engaged or highest value users, where do they come from, what audience segment do they sit in, and optimize towards them. So footfall and location, this has kind of been a trend which has really kind of taken off in the last 3 years. And this is basically the ability to serve an advertisement based on somebody's location history. So you either target based on where a consumer has been, so their physical real-world behavior, so what stores they've been into, are they at home, are they at work, etc., and where are they now? So proximity targeting when they're walking past a retailer or who are in the store. It's a huge, huge market. Probably around 60% now of spends in the UK have a location component to them, which is huge. There's a lot of fraud. So whoever your location partner is, in regards to the data that they're passing up. Make sure that they've got good fraud detection around location components, and also point of interest databases. So this is a database that you use to track or to measure how somebody's gone in store and what area they're in. A lot of point of interest databases used to have the store, then you used to have the big area around it, and what you're actually measuring was people going past the store rather than going in. There's now hugely detailed point of interest databases which actually map the store to its physical location. And then from a footfall measurement perspective, you can deliver a complete ROI. So exactly how many people have I driven in store off the back of the advertisement. Then you can match that back against the customer segments you targeted and see out of everybody you tried to reach who actually went into it. All the data is anonymized, obviously, but it gives you great insight in regards to the customer segment and demographic information around the people who you're targeting and reaching and are driving in. And it works. It's double the average in regards to brand propensity, because if you know that somebody's gone into your store repeatedly, you can guess that they've got more favorable thinking about your brand, and it already drives a huge amount of additional store visits, 2.5 times control groups when we measured it. That's it. So the 4 things: mobile first customer experience, mobile first products, mobile first marketing, mobile first measurement. And it's not about not doing something. You don't really have a choice with this. Companies who didn't go mobile should have gone mobile. I used to work for Nokia, so I disagree with this about we didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost. Focus on the customer experience, focus on the customer behavior, where are they going, and then adapt accordingly. Thank you.